After seeing the photograph, nobody in the house slept. The picture made no sense. Jake had been asleep in his room. Every door and window had been locked. So who took the picture? And who left the red lantern outside? By morning, the story had spread across Black Hollow. Several elderly residents came to see the photograph. Most refused to speak, but one man finally did. Walter Briggs, 82 years old and a lifelong resident of the town, took one look at the picture and turned pale. "The lanterns are back," he whispered. According to Walter, the forest wasn't always there. More than a century ago, a coal mining settlement stood in those woods. One winter, a massive cave-in trapped dozens of miners underground. Many bodies were never recovered. After the town was abandoned, strange stories began to spread. People reported red lanterns drifting through the trees at night, and whenever those lanterns appeared, someone eventually vanished. Every missing person had one thing in common: they followed the light. As night fell, Jake started acting strangely. He barely spoke and kept staring toward the forest. Around midnight, he suddenly asked, "Do you ever hear them calling?" The room fell silent. Before anyone could question him, the power went out. At the exact same moment, every dog in town started barking. Then came a metallic scraping sound from outside. Jake's father stepped onto the porch with a flashlight. The noise stopped. The beam swept across the yard. Nothing. Then it landed on the tree line. A single red lantern hung from a branch, completely still. Jake stood up, his eyes locked onto the light. Then he ran. Ethan chased after him as Jake sprinted into the woods. The deeper they went, the quieter everything became. No insects, no wind, only the lantern moving farther ahead. Eventually, they reached a clearing, and Ethan froze. Dozens of people stood there, perfectly motionless. Men, women, children. Some wore modern clothes. Others looked like they belonged to another century. Each one held a red lantern. Then a young man stepped forward. Jake immediately burst into tears. "Mason?" It was his older brother, the brother who had disappeared 23 years ago. Yet he looked exactly the same, not a day older. Mason walked toward them. "You have to leave," he said. Jake stared at him. "Where have you been?" Mason's face filled with fear. "I followed the lantern, and I couldn't find my way back." Ethan noticed something disturbing. The people behind Mason weren't blinking. Not one of them. They simply stood there, watching, waiting. Jake swallowed hard. "What are they?" For a moment, Mason said nothing. Then he whispered, "They followed the lights too." Suddenly, every lantern in the clearing flared brighter. The darkness around them seemed to move. Not like shadows, like something alive. Mason shoved Jake backward. "Run!" At once, every motionless figure turned toward them. Ethan grabbed Jake and ran. Behind them came hundreds of footsteps, getting closer, closer, closer. Then they burst out of the forest. Instantly, everything stopped. The footsteps vanished, the lights disappeared, and the woods became silent again. The next morning, police searched the area. They found nothing. No clearing, no lanterns, no sign of Mason. Eventually, life moved on, but 6 months later, Jake called Ethan in a panic. Without saying a word, he sent him an old family photograph. The picture had been taken nearly 30 years ago. It showed Mason standing outside his school with a group of friends. At first, Ethan didn't understand. Then he noticed someone in the background, standing beside a tree. a teenage boy holding a smartphone, wearing modern clothes. The boy looked exactly like Jake. The problem? The photograph had been taken 10 years before Jake was born. To this day, Ethan doesn't know what happened in Black Hollow, but he knows one thing. If you ever see a red lantern moving through the woods after midnight, don't follow it, because something might be waiting for you on the other side. Would you follow the lantern to bring back someone you love? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more true horror stories.